We're recording this, guys, just a couple of days away from the first Test match. Australia, India. Let's talk two of India's best players who go into the series in pretty bad form. Kohli and Sharma. Virat Kohli.
You said beforehand that they should both be dropped and that they're overrated, didn't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't have
said off air, everyone, yeah?
I wouldn't have even flown Virat Kohli out to Australia, by the way. I'd have left him in India, or in London even. I'd have left him here. But 93 runs in 3 tests against New Zealand for Virat Kohli. And that comes off the back of 2 bad tests against Bangladesh, averaging just over 20 this year in Test match cricket. Is Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma only passed 50 once in those home matches. There are lots and lots of low scores. Jarrod, you covered the New Zealand series for talkSPORT too. On both, as they approach the end of their career, are they done? Or do you still think they've got it in them to have one more good, real purple patch?
I actually thought Virat Kohli moved quite well in that series and just didn't make any runs. So perhaps I'm in the minority there. Look, his issue is much different than Rohit's because his is now, 4.5 years in. And also, he stopped playing seam very well and stopped playing spin very well. And like the double whammy of that is quite tough. But last year, he made a lot of runs in Test cricket. So because of that, I think you have to give him another chance. I want to see him in Australia because I think he probably bats better in Australia than he does anywhere else on earth.
Why is that, do you think?
I think he just likes the pace of the ball coming on.
Yes.
I think that's one of the reasons he's so good playing in chases in ODI cricket is because he plays at night and the ball just skids on a little bit more at night than it does during the day. So I think he legitimately likes the pace coming onto it. So I want to see him in that situation. But if he doesn't make runs in Australia, I don't think there's any real reason bringing him to the UK. And so I think they do have to have some conversations with him. But I kind of back him to make runs in Australia. Rohit, I think, has looked incredible of recent times in all formats, really. And he's just started to drop off in Test matches. So I'm not as concerned. The concern really is the double issue, right? Because you've got 2 older players. And also, it's 10 away Test matches that they've got, right? It was going to be 11, but they didn't make the World Test Championship final so far. They might beat Australia 5-0, but 10 away Test matches in a row. So which young kids in India are ready to conquer Australia and then England? And I think the truth is that Sarfaraz Khan was, a month ago, everyone was saying he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then suddenly there are a lot of Indian fans going, maybe he's overrated. So settle down. He's a young kid. He's quite an emotional player. Let him work out his game. Jaiswal went to South Africa and struggled. He's about to go to Australia, so he's going to get tested. There isn't like another Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma with their experience and everything available. I think you allow those players certainly a few chances. But as I said, if Kohli doesn't make runs in Australia, you're talking about a 4.5 year period where he hasn't made any. I think they have to have some pretty big conversations, especially considering that Rohit, I don't think is looking at leaving the game as quickly as Virat might have been.
What do you reckon, Bumble? Is Kohli scoring runs in Australia?
I give him one last go, and this 10 matches is so important for individuals and for the team. Is there anybody better? Is the question you'd always ask. You know, these are iconic players. Is there anybody better? One thing for certain, Australia will be ferocious, absolutely ferocious. And they gun after weakness. They look at weakness, perceive weakness. They will see that these players, them two, have not been at the best. They'll go after them two specifically. Don't worry too much about the others because they will say that the others will fall into place. But then, is it an ageing Australia attack with Stark's 34, Hazelwood's 33? But they will be fit and primed. It's kicked off already. It's kicked as it always would do, and that's a bit of spice to it. Ricky Ponting and the coach. What's the coach called?
Andrew McDonald.
Gambier. So that's kicked off already. Yeah. So that's good. You'd expect that anyway. Because every time you turn up, I love it before it starts. Because eventually the talking will stop and they'll have another bit of a go at each other and they'll keep going backwards and forwards then too because they have to. You know, it brings interest and none of them two will back off. Once somebody's started, he'll come back at him and then he'll come again. They'll just keep going until eventually that coin goes up and they decide, right, we're going to play a bit of cricket. I'm really looking forward to it because having been there as a player and a coach, I know that Australia, in their own midding, will be, as that word as I'll use again, ferocious, absolutely ferocious. And them two had better be A1 because they'll be gunning after them.
So did he say they were finished or not? I didn't hear an answer in that.
No, I give him a go. I'm giving him a
One
look.
test match is in Australia.
See, he's not paying attention because I said
He's still thinking about that 100 franchise.
is there anybody better?
You're saying no, aren't you? You're saying no for that, right?
He never
Not
packed
those
up
two
and said, yeah, there is. There's him and him. He didn't say it, did it?
No,
He's
that's
not
true.
listening.
You said it could have been Sarfraz, but it's not.
Well, no, what I mean is, like, if you're saying, like, Shreyas Iyer is a great player, right? Like, a great player in development. They know how good he is. Sarfraz is another one. Jaiswal's another one. Who thinks that they're about to start in 10 straight overseas tests in Australia and England, right? And so you can't get rid of Kohli and Rohit in that system and just be like, okay, so we've got two guys even beneath that level, right? So younger players coming through. You're just asking for young players to fail in that sort of
You're almost
situation.
setting them up to fail, aren't you?
Yeah, so Kohli's the only one, because it's been so long. I think you give him Australia, because he's not been a great player in England consistently in his career.
But could you see someone, if he doesn't get runs in Australia, could you see someone in that India team tapping him on the shoulder and telling him he's not going to England? Well, I almost sort of think that it's kind of thing causes Virat Kohli. No matter how bad run he's at,
What if
he says that they on
what if he thinks that's enough? That'll do me.
You mentioned Ricky Ponting before. So Ricky Ponting and Kohli have almost identical careers, which is they start when they're really young and everyone says they're going to be great, but they're not. They're not consistently good for a long period of time. Then they have like a 6 or a 7 year period. But I think Ponting's peak is about as good as anyone outside of Bradman or Steve Smith's peak, right? For about 7 years. And Kohli's just a little bit less than that. But then Ponting went over a cliff and he never came back. And we all say,
How long did he fail for, Ponting, towards the end of his career?
I think it was about 4 or 5 years.
It was that long?
Yeah, it was long. And in his book, he admitted, he was like, yeah, probably just played on too long.
Yeah.
He was like, I thought it would come back and it just never came back. And you look at Kohli and you're like, what if that's the same thing? And it's like,
Definite.
but you earn the right to be Virat Kohli. You earn the right to have 4 or 5 bad years because no one could touch him for that 6 or 7 years.
And Rohit Sharma, the captain as well?
Well, not to start with.
Not to start with, but right now, given the captaincy and the importance he's got in that respect, is that something, do you think, that's maybe impacted his batting, guys?
No, because I think he was a good captain. I mean, he just won a World Cup. It's like he's
Test match cricket.
I know, but I think he's fine with the captaincy. I don't think there's any issue there. There was a long period when no one in India was making runs, and Rohit was making runs on those really tough wickets, and he suddenly started to catch up a little bit. So maybe he was due a little bit of a regression in form. Again, I think he bats quite well in Australia.
He'll be as good as his attack.
Yeah.
He wants Bumrah fit. Shami's coming back. That's a big plus to him.
Huge plus.
He'll be as good as his attack. Can he get right into that Aussie batting lineup?
And you remember, you mentioned the needle. The last time these two sides faced, I mean, obviously, Tim Payne, what was it, saying it to Ravi Ashwin, we can't wait to get you to the Gabba. There was plenty of needle, wasn't it? And that series is iconic because of what India did and the way they came back to win. But I'll never forget the chirping, in particular, Tim Payne giving it, Ashwin was giving it. It was memorable, wasn't it, Bumble?
Yeah, well, but you don't expect anything else because it's a non-contact sport. Yeah. So you've got to get at them somehow. Yeah. And the only way is having a chat, really.
India Australia is so cool for the minutiae of the nonsense, right? So there was I remember there was
a
whole news story once where the Australian press were going, "There's been a tool used to change the pitch," and then the pitch curator came out and went, "Yeah, it's the thing to check the moisture, like every curator in the world." And then there was the one where Steve Smith. Do you remember this? Steve Smith was when he was in the field. He went out and he was like marking the guard, and the Indians went, "Look, he's changing the guards. They didn't play his heads," and it's like Steve Smith doesn't even. Steve Smith is just marking guard. He probably thought he was still batting. Yeah. And so these things become the biggest stories online, and people.
I'll tell you what, Sam, as well. Get into the media centre. Get into because the Aussie press will be right into the India players. Because they're always the same. Nothing will change there. Yeah. So they've got back to contend with as well.
Let's do some predictions then. Who's scoring the most runs in this series?
Travis Head.
I said Travis Head, didn't I, Bumble? Before Jarrod came in. Sash me late as always.
So number 5. You're going to look at number 5. Go on, I'm going to go Shubman Gill.
Oh, it's not too bad.
Shubman Gill.
He batted well in Australia last time.
Shubman Gill.
In terms of the Australia team and the makeup of the top 7, what we think is going to be, are you happy with it?
No.
Well, you're not happy with them, why?
Well, they're not particularly a good side at the moment. They're kind of in transition. Usman Khawaja, Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith aren't really in top form. So there's a lot of talk about like Usman Khawaja, and it's like, yeah, but he's not made a lot of runs of recent times. Marnus has really been struggling for, 18 months or so now, and Steve Smith doesn't know what he's done.
Is anyone in form going into this?
Well, there is a good point. Travis Head, that's why we picked him. Sherman Gill, that's why we went with
It's just those two guys. They're the only ones who are going to score runs.
So you've got three of Australia's top four not in form right at the moment, and then you've got McSweeney open in the batting. So I looked at McSweeney's record, and I think he'll be a very good Test player. But at number 3, he averages 30 in first-class cricket. At number 4, he averages 44, and when he's batted at number 5, he averages, I think, 50 odd.
He's opening.
He's opening.
Could Head have opened and McSweeney got in at 5?
No, I think you don't want to move.
Because Head's going so well.
Yeah, I just think you leave Head where it is. But the point being is, the reason they picked Bumble like this is no top order players in Australia are making any runs, right? So this guy who's batting further down the order is making all the runs, and they're like, oh, maybe he'll be able to open.
It's like,
Why would that work?
I know. I think I know why. They must have been watching basketball and how England are picking teams. And that's what England do, right? England don't pick players to the right position. Yeah.
Well, we're market leaders. Do you keep wicket? No. Well, you do now.
Yeah. You've never batted first drop before. Give it a go. It's only Test cricket. So I think Australia has lots of weaknesses through that sort of that top 4. That look, and we could be in a situation where they don't get Usman Khawaja out and they can bat around Usman Khawaja and they're fine. But Australia's strength really of recent times has been 5 and 6. And you don't really want to get there, fall down for none.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got Travis Head and we've got Shubman Gill scoring the most runs. I'll tell you what, guys, I can't wait for this series now. I'm looking forward to it. Most wickets. Now, I know a lot of this is fitness depending.
Yeah. They might not all, but we play all the tests either.
Exactly, and we are recording this 3 days out.
But the answer is Josh Hazlewood, so write that down.
Straight away. He was late, but he was thinking about who's taking the most wickets. Why, by the way? Why Bumble thinks, why are you so short at Josh Hazlewood?
I think he's averaged 13 in his last 5 tests or something ridiculous. No, he should.
It's a pretty good answer.
I think what happened was he tried to get good at white ball cricket for a little while and his test numbers went up and now he's very comfortable with his white ball cricket. He's not thinking about that anymore. It's almost automatic for him. And he went back to working on what he does well in tests. And I think he's almost at his peak right at the moment as a bowler for accuracy, thinking batters, and of course he's tall as hell.
I'll flip it on its head. Jasprit Bumrah.
It's also a good option.
Yeah. I can't believe you didn't go Bumrah.
I'm not Bumrah, but
well, I'm just listening to him how bad Australia are. He's one of the best we've ever seen. He's got a new ball on a quick bouncy pick. Jasprit Bumrah, write it down.
We got Head, we got Gill, we got Hazlewood, and we got Jasprit Bumrah. Yeah. Final one I'm going to throw you away here. What's going to be the surprise moment of this series? It could be anything. It could be a result. It could be a player. It could be a pitch. It could be a pundit. It could be absolutely anything. What's going to happen in this series that's going to catch us out? I'll put you on the spot here, guys. But if the pause is much longer, we can edit this down. Can't we? I was going to say.
We fast forward the pause.
Yeah, we'll fast forward this bit here because I'll put you on the spot.
Sorry. Surprise moment in this series is that at one stage it's going to feel like India can win the series. That's going to be the surprise.
That's what could be of a surprise.
Yeah. At one
I was really hoping you were going to say Kohli retires after 2 test matches or something like that.
Kohli retires after 2 test matches or something like that.
There's the headline for the
I think we will get retirements from this series, though.
Who?
But I don't know which side.
Yeah.
There
is a major non-cricket incident.
Is Steve Smith going to mark his card while Virat Kohli's
There is a major non-cricket incident.
That feels like not shock, though. That feels like that's going to happen, right? In this series. No, it's part of the fun, right?
Okay, so Virat Kohli or Usman Khawaja is going to retire at the end of this series.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just making that up. But you asked for something.
I did ask for a shock. A surprise. There we go.
Marnus Labuschagne is going to retire. Marnus Labuschagne is going to join the boy band.
Leading wicket taker, Marnus Labuschagne.
He's going to be leading wicket taker from a boy band.
Yeah. And final one, guys. Obviously, most importantly, predictions, please. What's the actual score going to be, guys?
Oh, okay. 4-1 Australia.
I'm not arguing with that.
Yeah, 4-1 Australia. I think everyone's going to 4 Australia.
I think the only difference is I'm doing 4-1 based on I don't know when Mohammad Shami will come in. If Mohammad Shami came back, I'd be a little bit more interested in India instantly.
You think he's that important to this team?
I don't like their second or third fast bowler.
Who will it be?
Put him and Bumrah together and I'm like, now we have a bit of an attack.
So assuming they go 2 spinners, right, and 3 quicks, obviously Bumrah's one of the quicks. If Shami isn't fit, who will the other 2 be, do you think?
It'll be probably Siraj and Akashdeep, but Prashid Krishna looked pretty good in the A games as well.
4-1, that's a bit extravagant.
He's worked back his own. He said, I'm not arguing with that. He's like, maybe I should argue with that.
He thought Shami could play all. So I've got to go.
Nil India.
On AM on DAB via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.